You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Punisher Waterfowls The Refuge is presented by Quick Koys, the fastest deployable, most portable, lifelike motion decoy product ever invented for duck hunters. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430. This is episode 212, first show of 2025, and we've got myself, Craig Lalonde, and the Killer Bees. And this is going to be a shit show tonight. I already know it because we're going to be stumbling over Brian's tonight. And then Ellithorpe says he's got a hunt tomorrow with two other Brians. So there's going to be Brian Cube tomorrow. So that should be fun. Ladies and gentlemen, I would be a horrible host if I did not take an opportunity to thank our sponsors of First Light, Real Geese, and Ducklander Calls, who's been with us for so long and continues to support us. Don't worry, to the three of you guys, when you're listening, your invoice is in the mail, and we shall be talking very, very soon. I hope they paid her invoice and they're in for another year. All good, all good. And of course, the voice of the Union 0430, Captain Jeff Coates, Pit Boss Waterfowl. It's an angelic voice. Okay, that's edited away. Like I alluded to, got the two Brians and Craig on with us tonight. Philly is working. Mark is buried in some trees somewhere, living his best life with a Stihl chainsaw. So you're dealing with us for tonight. So, boys, Happy New Year. Merry late Christmas, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. You too.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Appreciate you having me back on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what, Brian, like we tried to pull this friggin' hunt together, right? To get over to Ohio on Lake Erie, and I would be lying if I didn't say I was a little bit relieved when Ellithorpe couldn't pull it together, because I don't know how I was going to fit it into my schedule, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was tough.
I think if we try and just plan it next year, it'll make everything.
Well,
we tried to do it November was when we were talking about it. And it's like, man, that's late, but we'll get it next year.
I started watching more of your videos today, like your Lake Erie stuff, because I was home back home over the holidays. So I took my dad for a drive along the north shore of Lake Erie, just spotting birds and that, right? And it's like every year, this time of year, I can always rely on finding at least 2 or 3 really nice gadwall. Oh, so there's all the, all the buffies are out there, the mallards are out there, tons of geese. And there's one spot I go every year. It's like and you're driving just along the shore, and there's always going to be a couple gadwalls. So yeah, it's kind of got the taste in my mouth again. And so I started watching your videos.
Well, hopefully they were up to par. It's been like, this year's been so tough for me to get on the lake because we've had pretty much consistent 30-mile-an-hour west winds. Like anytime I can go out, it's 30 to 40-mile-an-hour west wind. And for us, that blows the water out. So we can't even get a boat in. Or like if we could, like, well, we were talking about earlier, I got crazy stories, but I went out and we were sitting on the shore and spot that I've been before that never had an issue. And it was a 40-mile-an-hour west wind for 3 days in a row. And I'm like, oh, it would be perfect. If the water's there, it's not going anywhere. We sit there, set the boat up. We're shooting buffies. I look over and I'm like, why does it look like my boat is not in the water anymore? Well, a freighter had come by, sucked all the water down, and then pushed all the water out, kept it out there.
Oh,
my
wow.
boat was fully out of the water for about 8 hours.
What?
First time it's ever happened. I've been trying to avoid it for 10 years now. And it happened. Like fully out, like on the beach. You can see the sand. there's not a drop of water next to it.
Dude, that's crazy. Did you get video of that?
Yeah.
I gotta watch that. That's
It's not on the last video. It'll be a different video, but I'll send
okay.
pictures.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's cool as shit. Today, Brian, when Ellithorpe has messages us back, and I'm giggling so much because he's like, ah, I done this and I've done this, and man, I got some stories, and I'm giggling. And I'm giggling, and Craig, you can appreciate it too because you grew up on Erie. Um, I can just imagine, like, I know what the problems I have with, and I really didn't hunt over any water this year other than the little bit that's behind the house here. Um, and I know the issues I have in the little tiny water that I hunt. I couldn't even imagine out on Lake Erie with that wind and then the devil's um diver ducks, which is fucking hate divers. Um
Can't get enough of it. That's the
and I'm
problem.
just what?
I can't get enough of them, and then I go out there, and then crazy shit happens. I don't know.
I don't know, man. All right. Okay. So we'll talk to Brian about his season, but we got to get into Ellithorpe because you have had a crazy season. Like you've been everywhere this season. You've
Yeah.
been really, really busy. What was it? And I got to add this little bit to it. What was it he said, Brian, the other day? He was like, well, maybe we can fit something in as long as I don't get booked to have to do a wedding or something like this. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like,
Hey, I'll tell you what. So this wedding season, completely off topic of waterfowl, but like
yeah,
this year, for whatever reason, everybody waited until the absolute last minute to book
of course,
weddings.
of course.
And for me, for video, it's always the last anyway. I had 3 this year where they booked the same week of the wedding,
Mm,
within 7 days of their wedding.
wow.
Whoa, that's leaving
That's
her
crazy.
late.
That's
That's
what I'm
late.
saying. I'm like, that is aggressive. And luckily, I had all 3. Like all 3 of them, it was like, oh, I'm not booked. Sure, I'll show up. And it's like,
They definitely left that up to the groom for sure. That was a
Yeah.
groom move.
Yeah, it's just nuts.
100%.
I
What
just don't get it.
do you guys remember that? I don't know what show it was. It was like 10, maybe 10, 15 years ago or something. It was some show, and it was a couple was getting married, and they just, the groom had the dude had to, he was responsible for some stuff, and it's like his buddy come and told him, he was like, just screw it up. Just whatever you do, screw it up now, and then she won't ask you to do anything else, and she'll just take care of it. I can't remember what the show was, but that's an example of that dude right there. He was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll look after the videographer.
They screwed it up, and she's like, "I'll take care of it."
I'll take
Yeah.
care of
Yeah.
it."
Here I am.
Dude, hey, what are you wearing when you're recording a video? Like, are you wearing one of those like really old tuxedos with like the fluffy stuff in the middle and stuff?
And what I do is I watch Austin Powers, and then I just put on whatever I'm wearing.
A leisure suit? No,
Yeah.
no,
I
so,
I
yeah,
just
go
wear it like a t-shirt polo deal. Like I don't get to. I'm behind the camera. Nobody cares what I'm wearing. So
yeah, I know, but I want to know if you go all out, if you're
No.
showing up in a
I
tux.
did it like when I first started doing them. I'd wear like my suit. Like
Yeah.
I'd wear without the jacket. I'd wear like the vest and stuff. And then like 5 weddings in, I was like, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
And I just started wearing most of them. Like if it's I'd say probably 98% of the time I'm wearing like I have like fishing shorts that look like regular like golf shorts, like
Okay.
slack shorts
Yeah, yeah.
almost.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wear like a t-shirt, button up fishing shirt,
Okay.
like with a collar. Nobody cares. Like
Yeah, yeah.
And you're
it's
running
funny
around too,
how,
right?
like, what's that?
You're running around a bit too, and
That's the
summertime
thing.
weddings and everything.
Yeah, I mean, like most, like in July, I try not to book July weddings anymore because they're like 105 degrees and everybody wants them outside. But it's like most of the time I sweat through everything. So even if it's inside, because I'm running around generally, I'm by myself, but I'm running 4 cameras, I'm running audio, doing all this crazy shit. And it's like, I can't, I don't even have time to eat. Like I forget to eat until everybody else sits down, and then it's like, oh yeah, now it's time to eat. Like it's crazy.
Way to go, Ellithorpe, and turn this into a really serious. I was hoping that you were going to say something funny and we were going to get the poke fun at you, and now you just had to make it
You still
serious.
can. I mean, how many people in my position are filming fucking weddings?
Well, hey,
I show up,
yeah.
I'm the most redneck of anybody else there.
Well, and the fact that you're like 260 pounds, um, just fucking just fucking rolling in like Jesus.
So you
Yeah.
guys need help with that? I just start grabbing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no,
That's a lot, actually.
I got it. I bench pressed a fucking truck earlier this morning, so I'm good. I'm good with this
But also, I'm
boxing.
going to film your wedding. It's going to be really cute.
And it's gonna be cute. Yeah. No, so before we went on that bit about, the weddings and stuff, like you had a crazy season this year. Obviously I don't I'm sure I missed some stuff. You tag me in most things, so I get to see for the most part everything that you're at. But you did have a busy season. You were out with Sean and the boys and then your own stuff. So let's hear it, buddy. Let's get some stories going.
I mean, like for the most part, I started so like I've got a couple buddies that I met this summer north of me, and they've got, big following. They do a podcast as well, but they've got sponsors and stuff. So they've been trying to find somebody local that'll do photo and video stuff. And so we've worked out a little collaboration where like I go up and I
Cool.
hunt with them, film some stuff for them, take pictures of, it's worked out really well.
That's
So I've
awesome.
gone up and hunted with them and filmed some stuff. Some of the YouTube videos, like the goose hunts, that's been with those guys. So
Okay. Okay.
it's been pretty cool. Like I got to do a hunt with Migra Ammunitions. That was pretty sweet. They came up
Sick.
from
With
yeah, they
Wade?
came up from no, Wade wasn't there. It was Mark Regalbuto. He's one of the owners. There's four
Okay.
owners. Migra.
Okay.
And so he came up from South Carolina on his way to like Wisconsin and Canada for some big Beretta giveaway thing that he was working on. But he came by and did a hunt with us, and then they recorded a podcast with him as well.
Oh, sick.
But I mean, like I got to, I did some pictures and video and made a reel for them. They haven't posted it yet, but I'm sure at some point they will. But that was cool. Like that kind of stuff, it's like the networking side of it where I don't, if it was just me, it's like I don't think that Migra cares about me, So it's like
Oh, I don't know, buddy.
that. But I mean, it's just, that's the cool thing about the networking side is like I meet these guys, I go do their podcast, and then we start doing a collaboration together. Then I'm filming hunts and doing a bunch of pictures and stuff for Migra. But I've been talking to Wade all season because they were going to try and get me on a hunt, and it just
Yep.
didn't work out with like what I was going to do, like with Sean. I
Yep.
told him, like, Sean's done so much for me, and I enjoy traveling with him so much that like that's the priority. Whatever I have throughout the season
Yep.
works around what Sean wants me to do. So
Yep.
yeah, I mean that was cool. I started with that. That was in October. That was for our opening day, and then yeah, I went up to St. Clair for a weekend, hunted up there. Went up to did our layout hunt in Houghton Lake, so that was cool. Came back from that, and then pretty much I think I hunted for like 2 weeks. Then we started filming RNTV. So Sean came here. He came to my house, and then
Yep.
we hunted here for 3 days. Filmed 2 days on, no, 3 days on the lake, but we hunted the same spot twice. Shot our limit there in like an hour of bluebills. But I got some of like the craziest bluebill footage I've ever gotten just in that day. Like
Really?
it was nuts. And then we hunted. Here's another story. But so it was, it didn't blow like for 2 days. There was like no wind at all. Perfect scenario for the spot that we were hunting, and we had his boat. And like I said, we smacked shit out of him. I was like, well, I wish we could go back there tomorrow, but we're not going to be able to get a boat in. It's 40-mile-an-hour wind, west wind.
Mhm.
So I go, there is one spot on this lake that we could hunt tomorrow. And I go, but we're gonna have to get there early. So we get there, we get to the boat ramp, I pull up. Sean's looking at me and he's like, what do you think? I go, we're not gonna know till we get out of this marina. And so we get out and he's like, it's basically like you come out of the marina and it's like a half mile of it's gonna be rough, but if we make it past that half mile, it's gonna be flat calm. So that's what
Okay.
happened.
Yeah.
But he doesn't mess with the wind in that boat. It's a
Right. Yeah,
mod
yeah,
V
yeah.
boat. It's not a deep V.
That's right. Yeah, it's
Hopefully
that
that
express, right?
yeah, so but
Yeah.
luckily he's got that blind on it that really kind of helps fare the waves. It's heavy, kind of keeps it centered. So we get out there and he's just looking at me like you're out of your mind. I'm like, I've done this dozens of times. We'll be okay. So just get it up, put the nose up, and we'll get over there. We get over there and he's like, I would have turned right around. It's like
Yeah.
if I wasn't with you, I would have turned right around. And I mean, like we had a decent hunt to kind of end it off, but yeah, so then he left here. Then that was the week of Thanksgiving. So then that Sunday after Thanksgiving, I drove up to his place. We left like first thing in the morning for Missouri. And that was like most of the stuff that you guys probably saw with me filming down there in Missouri with him was like those reels and stuff. And
Yep.
it was, I, I don't even really understand we went to a private ranch down there. And so it's like this billionaire wanted to build his own duck club, did that. He has way too much money, so they kept buying property and all this other stuff. They manage like 500 acres of wetland down there. So they've got a
Whew.
big refuge. And I mean, like while we're down there, there's 150,000 ducks in this place. I mean, like you
Insane.
can't
Yeah.
go out and not shoot a limit of whatever you're trying to shoot. You know what I mean?
Sick.
Like everything's there. Specs, Canadas, there was some snow geese in there, a ton of mallards, gadwall, spoonbills, widgeon, whatever you can, pintails, whatever. Like everything was there.
Wow.
They have just built this sanctuary down there, but they manage it so well. Like they manage their pressure really well. They don't hunt the same blind 2 days in a row. They don't even really hunt the same side of their wetland 2 days in a row.
Smart.
They shoot, they get out, they let it rest. You know, like it's pretty crazy. But it's like you go down there and it's I would have never seen anything like that again in my life, you know, unless I was
Yeah,
down
yeah,
there.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's invite only. It was like a private deal, but those guys were fans of the show, so they invited them down there years ago. And if you guys have seen the shows that they've done, like the sponsored hunts down there,
Yep.
that's where it is. So
That's crazy.
got to see that. I mean, like it was so cool. Just
But
such
Brian or Ellithorpe, I gotta make sure I stay on this theme. But you know, you talked about the fact that you would never have seen that or these guys now that you're doing the collab with, and then, hunting with the Migra team and stuff like that. But that's all that is exactly what the networking does for you, right? Like
yeah,
there's so many people out there that's trying to carve their way in this world, this industry, and and that's the difference is that if you can create a relationship with somebody, well, then you're good. If provided you provide a good service, but if
right.
you provide a good service and you can get linked up with somebody, like so there was a topic. So I'm on LinkedIn. I follow that, and I've got a bunch of people that I follow. And there's a fella, it was a photographer actually, pretty good photographer, and he had put this topic on, and he had said, "Listen, does anybody, when it comes to hiring, especially in the marketing world, do you take the resume and the CVV and what we create on social media as our presence, as who we are? Do you take that and hire somebody off that, or does it have to be a meeting where you're sitting down, you're sharing a beer, or you're having a meal, or a handshake at least?" And I think, and this is the question I'm posing to you guys. That was the build up for it, but this is my thoughts. I think the days, and I understand people are still using technology, and they'll use it to their benefit all the time. But I think the days of just looking at somebody's resume and their online presence, I think those days are over, because I think there's too many people out there with that online presence, and the only way to separate yourself now, it is through the handshake and through the conversation over beer or over dinner.
I think you're right because, well, and like there's sometimes that you don't even know if it's that person's actual work.
Well, and but see, this is the thing, right? So this is what I'm getting at. Like, uh, Philly is on this show all the time, and he talks about people that pay for followers and
Right.
and all that shit, right? So it's so easy to hide or to pretend to be bigger than what you are. I think all of us at some point we sort of kind of, I don't want to say fudge the numbers or anything like that, but when I talk to people about what Punisher Waterfowl is, I I don't want to say I lie, because I don't think it's a lie. It's just
Faked it till you make it.
I make Punisher seem to be bigger than what it is, and that's my view on it. Now, somebody else could say, well, Punisher isn't like that, and I get it, but that's my view, and it's my company, and so I'm passionate about it. So, and I think that comes through, and maybe it makes it seem like it's bigger than what it is. But to get back to the original question, with everybody just saying, well, I'm the biggest in this state, and I'm the best goose caller here, or whatever it is, I think these days people want to be able to see you, and they want to meet you, shake your hand, and talk to it, especially in this world of that we're in today. How else can you know someone's morals than sitting down and having a honest
Sure.
to God conversation with them?
Well, I'll
Brian?
say, so I
And if they're
went,
going to align with you too, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
Well,
their online presence might look good, their work may look good, but are you going to be able to work with them?
Well, and I think that's what most brands, and I can't speak for every little facet, but I think brands in this world now, I think that's what they're looking. They're looking for somebody. Well, Ellithorpe, you're a prime example. You're working with Sean Stahl. If Sean didn't like you, regardless of the quality of work you do, if Sean Stahl didn't like you, you wouldn't be following him around.
I I agree. Like it's you start to figure out who you can and can't work with. Like
That's
especially
right.
for me being like I guess younger in the industry. Like
Yeah.
yeah, Sean could have kicked me to the curb after the first trip, but instead he's like, we're still trying to plan trips of like, hey, he wants to come back down here. We want to go do this. We want to do that, and like it's relieving for me because then it feels like I made a mark on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
I can provide the service that he wants, but it's also like we hang out, we have a great time. Like I
Yeah.
went down to game fair this year and I texted him, I go, hey, I'm flying out to game fair. I'll swing by the booth, say hi, and he calls me and he's like, you're coming down here? What do you mean? And I'm like, well, the guys from Midwest Flyways invited me down to their party. I was like, I got vacation time and I'm coming down. And he's like, well, you're gonna hang out with me all weekend. I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I hung out at the booth. He gave me a pass. I hung out with him the whole weekend, and it
Yeah.
was like, it's. I think it really matters if people can work with you because that's like for us. Like I went with him to Missouri we were together for 8 days. That's a
Yeah.
lot of time to spend with somebody that you don't like.
At
Oh yeah.
24/7. Brian, you've got the podcast, and you do, and like you're traveling all over, like your neck of the woods, right? So that eastern seaboard, and I don't want to say into the Midwest, but you travel into Missouri and those areas too, right? Um, and you have a podcast, so you're meeting your connections through your podcasts and stuff. So the same question, I guess, goes to you, because I would assume that you get a lot of people that, hey, listen, man, would love to invite you for a hunt sometime. If you're ever in my neck of the woods, look me up and we'll do a hunt, or we'll get together and stuff like this. But now you have the benefit of a podcast where you can sit down with someone and you can ask them all kinds of questions, and you can get to learn everything about a person before you actually take them up on that invite. Is that a I guess a fair statement to make?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we talked about this on the last episode I was on with you
Yeah,
about having these, it's not in person, but having these face-to-face conversations with video chat, and you really can get to know somebody. It's kind of like going on a hunt with somebody. You spend a few hours in a blind with somebody, you know immediately, I'm never hunting with this guy again, or hey, this
absolutely.
this is probably going to be a guy I'm going to be good friends with. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like that with the networking too. I mean, like you said, people want to meet you in person and get to know what kind of person you are, and your body of work is important, like you said, but it's about those relationships, and it's about being a decent human being, and just you know, producing for people when they ask you to do something.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I just think there's too many people out there now that's probably pulled the wool over the eyes of some, community manager for a brand, and now they just, you know what? Let's sit down and meet. Let's have a chat on the phone. It's not it can't be just, oh, that dude's got 100,000 followers, but no more. I don't think that shit flies anymore because
Right.
I think just too many people have got burned. Craig, on your side of the world, where you're not really connected into the industry and stuff, and you're really a lone wolf, where you just, when you get the opportunity to get out and scout and find the spot, the hunt and stuff, but then historically you've had to do that all on your own, but this year you've linked up with somebody that you've met, and you guys sort of been scouting the same area, and then you guys sort of came up with the same thing and started collabing on scouting, right?
Yep. Yeah, so we've done that, and it never panned out to actually get to hunt together. But yeah, just more networking, getting people closer to home, right? So can split up areas, split on the driving and stuff like that, and even yeah, it's like if there's a spot that I have seen birds that I know I'm not going to get, or I don't know who owns it, you can bounce stuff back and forth. So yeah, it's always that. There's no bad level of networking, right? Even if things don't pan out, it's like there's some benefit to it, right? Like if I
Yeah.
had met those guys and it's like, yeah, okay, like there's no way I can bounce any ideas off them or share info with them, then it's like you at least know that, but you're finding out who's in the area and what's going on. So you're still benefiting from it in some way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And anyways, I don't want to beat a dead horse here because we keep saying it. I want to keep going because we're going to, as usual, just keep bouncing back and forth. Um, I wanted to bring up this topic because I haven't had any experience in this personally this year, but you two of the two Brians brought this up today on on our text group, and you were talking about some birds being way south Ellithorpe, and then Brian came in and said, "Yeah, well, we've been getting wind, and I'm betting that the wind has pushed them all over to you." Has that been a common theme that you've seen this year on so south of the border, where the weather patterns are really starting to screw with the birds and where they normally are?
Which Brian?
Your Ellithorpe.
So Brian was the one that said that he's seen him south, but
Yeah.
Oh, 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 well. Okay.
so
So I'm all screwed up. So,
it's all right.
All
But
good.
so yeah, I mean, like there's a part of our season before I went to go film. So like like between early November and mid-November, where we had a strong south wind. We had a bunch of birds move in, and we were having like northwest, west winds, some northeast winds, and it brought some birds into the area. And we would go out and we'd see like in our area, we'd see like a raft of 10,000 birds or whatever. Then it grows a little bit, then all of a sudden it's just like everything's gone. We're like, what is happening? But we had like a south wind for like a strong south wind for 4 or 5 days. And then I start to see people up in like the Detroit River, like St. Clair, they're getting back into birds. And it's like, it seemed like those birds were down. The wind kind of reverse migrated them back. It got warm too, so they moved up a little bit. but then we had a hard north wind and boom, brings them all back. It's like it really is wind dependent, especially in my area of where these birds can find refuge. Like if they can't go into a refuge that, we've had low water all summer and like we didn't really get much of it back. So that cuts down in the spots that these birds can go into refuge off the big water. But then if they're on the big water, it's like they will go wherever they can find, wherever they can find the weather that they want, and whether that's the low wind, whatever. And so I think it's super weather dependent. Like I was saying with Brian seeing those birds over by him, we've had strong west winds. If those birds pick up, and like I know even on that 50 ducks episode where he was talking about, the weather, that mallard that was up and flew 70 miles an hour for like 400 miles or whatever one night. Like, I mean, those birds are going to try to find the least path of resistance for whatever they're going to be migrating. If it's a tailwind and they can go east, they're just going to boom, jump up, ride that tailwind over to Pennsylvania, and they're gone.
Yeah, fair. I sort of kind of screwed that up. I thought it was birds in Ohio that had pushed over to PA, but it was vice versa. It was birds in PA.
Oh, it was. It was just that Brian's in Pennsylvania. So he was saying
okay.
But he was also seeing them at 130 miles south of the lake. Like,
I hunted a marsh that I've been hunting for about 15 years. I've never seen bluebills in there, and when they buzzed by this morning, I almost like forgot to grab my gun because I'm staring like those are bluebills. What are they doing down here? And that was 130 miles south of Lake Erie. So,
well, Brian,
crazy.
in all fairness, before we hit the record button, you were telling me that you had a great hunt this morning, but your shooting wasn't that good. So even if you did pull up your gun, buddy,
you're probably right. You're probably right. I don't know what it is this week. I've had to put a few more layers on. That's going to be my excuse.
No, it will 100%. If you've got that big puffy layer on your upper and trying to shoulder the gun, 100% that'll affect you.
Yeah, it's brutal. I did a layout hunt a few weeks ago, and we had completely iced over, and so there were none of the boat ramps that we could go to were open, and it was like a 35 mile an hour wind, and so like getting out of that's tough. But it was also, I mean, everything being iced over and it being that windy, I had every layer that I could think of because I'm like, I don't want to be out there sitting in this layout boat getting sprayed and just freezing, And that was the worst shooting I think I've ever had in a layout boat. That was the video I just put up like this week.
Yeah, I was watching that. I think that's the one I was watching today. And I like the captions. It's like, whiff.
Yeah, well, because it was just like comical about how terrible my shooting was. But it was like, we're hunting in 2-3 footers in a 2-man layout boat. And it's like these birds, I mean, you shoot and your shot's just gone. I mean, like 40 mile an hour wind, it's just not going to hold together. So
yeah, go for it, Craig.
I was just going to say, like, I noticed that on some of your shot cam footage. It's like you can see it's like, or it's just kind of as you're shooting, you can see the guns just kind of going off.
Shoulder it, and I'm just but a lot of it too was like I'm used to sitting up and pulling my stock into my shoulder.
Yeah,
you've got 4 inches of
foam
wrap of your waders and everything. Like it just wasn't happening. I couldn't. And there was one. I think it was the last one. I tell myself like, set it into your shoulder, and so I did it, and then I still missed on my first shot.
I've got to do that at the beginning of every season. At the beginning of every season, I've got to be okay. Shoulder the gun, pick your bird, slow down, pull the trigger, move to the other. I've got to do that at the beginning of the season every year. I got to do that because I'll just pull up and I'm like bang, 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 and I'm like, yep, didn't touch a thing, fucking no. So with this, the waves and shooting and stuff. So this topic came up over the holidays. My wife's uncle was visiting from Florida, and him and I have a fucking lot in common. So we always have these chats, and we were talking about. Remember back like 10 years ago when those Somali pirates like captured that American freighter, and those fucking SEALs. So the Somalis put the crew in a lifeboat, or no, I think it was just the captain in the lifeboat, and then there was like 5 or 6 Somalis in the lifeboat with him, and those fucking SEALs shot all those dudes, like they all dropped at the same time. This is out in the ocean. Like we're not talking about Lake Erie. Like, hey, listen, I'm not taking anything away from Lake Erie. It can get pretty friggin' nasty, but this is out on the ocean,
Yeah.
and these seals, God knows how far they were away, the snipers, and dropped all those dudes just like that.
Unreal.
Like, can you?
Well, you're talking about a bullet too, not
yeah,
bird.
not a shot. Yeah, not
Yeah.
shot. Like a
Crazy.
bullet, dude. Like, can you imagine? Like, here we are talking. Well, I whiffed on that Buffy.
A shoe flew bit.
I hope there's a Navy SEAL that listens to this show and he's gonna write me and then just go, yeah, you guys are fucked. I really do. I hope some sniper or something, and a police sniper or something, somebody that's a way better shot than I am, come on and just go, yeah, man, that's just it's ridiculous. That it's a hope and a prayer at that point. But I don't know. I just thought it was cool. It came up over the holidays. We were chatting about it, and it just blows my mind that somebody is that good.
No
That
doubt.
was and here's another thing that I talked about. I'm all over the place. So, you talk about those guys that shot, right? And how good you have to be in order because listen, you're confident in you're very confident in your skills to be able to pull the trigger and do that, right? So, and this goes for anything. And it was Alex Van Halen who put this quote out. I read it the other day, and I thought it was brilliant. He said, I don't think the majority of people realize how big a difference it is from being good to great. There is a massive difference from good to being great.
Mm.
And I sat back and I thought about that, and I'm like, yeah, like how many people do you know that's good at stuff? I know a ton of people that's good at stuff. I don't know anybody that's great at anything. I really not great where they could be in a class of their own. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. Like those snipers that's able to pull those shots off, like they're in a league of their own that can pull that shit off. I don't know anybody that's great at what they do, where they are the standard.
Thanks for bringing us all down on our abilities.
No, but but this is what I mean, and you can tie this into business. You can tie this into trying to grow as a brand in this world and stuff. So you look at well, let's put it into goose calling. Like those guys that win the worlds, they're great. How many of us, like I'm not even good. Like I think I'm below novice if there's one below novice on a goose call. I don't even know if there's anything below novice, but you think about these guys that are winning the worlds, like they're fucking great. They gotta be great. They are the best in the friggin' world. Like how now that I'm really taking that on, I'm really listening and thinking about that quote. I'm just thinking like it's not easy to be great. The amount of time that those guys must spend behind a duck call or a goose call, they're not practicing 5-10 minutes a day. It's way more than that. And do you know what I mean? Anyways.
Well, I know it's been a while since Sean won his, but it's like sitting in a blind with him and listening to him call. I don't like. I come back from that and I'm like, I'm not touching my goose call ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like he starts making noises out of that thing. I didn't even know were possible. And then it's like these geese just come bowed up.
Yeah.
Like talking to their best friend. It's like that kind of shit's really cool.
Yeah. And to think he is great at it. Like I've never ever shared a blind with a world champion. right? I've never done it.
Yeah.
And I've shared the blind with some dudes. Actually, Rusty Heron is pretty good, but I don't think Rusty's won the worlds. I'm pretty sure he hasn't. Like Craig, Rusty hasn't won the worlds. He's probably
I
won.
don't know.
Yeah, he's won some competitions and stuff, but not at the worlds. He's competed at Stuttgart, I think. But anyways, I've hunted with fellas that are what I thought were amazing. And those guys probably don't even qualify for the worlds.
Which
So,
is crazy.
which is crazy, right?
But it's
When you
also
think
like it's
about
also
it.
such a different style of calling.
Well, okay, so let's go with a meat style call, right? So you have the guys that get up and it's totally for competition style calling, which is totally different than a meat style call. But if you go on them, even those dudes that do the meat style calls,
They still
I'm get-
sound incredible.
oh,
Yeah.
they're great at it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and to be everybody wants to be great, but nobody is willing to put in the effort to it, right? And I'm guilty of it. I'm living proof of it. I want to be the best podcaster in the world, but I'm not willing to put the work in or spend the money that I need in order to be the best podcaster in the world. But I'd like to be the best I'd love to have that title of being
Yeah.
the best podcaster, but I know I'll never do it because I'm not going to put the amount of effort required to be the best podcaster.
There's also, I mean, there's so many other factors too, like variables. For
Like
me,
what?
it's like family. I'm not going to go travel for 80 days a year to
But
film
again,
a single day. I
but
could.
again, that's that's the sacrifices that the great ones make.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The
That's what I
sport,
mean. Like people are sacrificing different things than I am.
absolutely, yeah,
Sacrifice
absolutely,
2 weeks or 3 weeks a season, but I'm not gonna like. I
yeah,
mean, I talked to Joel Jones. He
yep,
films. You
yep,
guys have seen stuff. But so I was talking to him at Game Fair, and it's like he had to strictly tell these clients that he has, like, I will only work 1 week and then I will be home a week. And it's
really,
like he is great.
yep.
He also made that sacrifice of like, these are my terms. I want to be home with my family, but he's also taking every other week away from his family.
Well, and to that, I would think that in the beginning he made some sacrifices,
Oh yeah, because he wasn't full time with it until he could actually like withstand it, or,
right?
withstand it. And I think that
So,
was before he had his kids too, which
yeah,
it's a
but
little
you
easy to put off kids
But
to
you
do.
look at guys like Remy Warren and all these guys, and like even Wade Shoemaker. Like I know I've known Wade Shoemaker for a lot of years. Um, but even when Wade was doing his photography and stuff, like Wade was gone all year,
Oh yeah,
all year. He was never home. He'd come. Obviously, he was home at some point, but it was hardly ever. But now, and this goes to Joel. Um, Now he's in the position where, hey, listen, I've made my sacrifices. I'm good.
right.
I'm good where I'm happy with the amount of work that I've got, and I'm making enough money to pay my bills, and I'm happy. I'm not making any of those crazy sacrifices again, and good on
He's
him
still gone
because
all the time.
yeah, and he's still gone all the time,
Yeah.
you know. But then, so I'm the only one that's retired here. The three of you guys have your own job. Like you have real jobs on top of everything. And Craig, like you have a busy family where you guys are flat out on the go all the time. Plus you have a busy job, plus you try to hunt, and plus you try to visit friends and you try to be social. Ellithorpe, you've got way too much on the go for me. Like I can even get tired. But then Brian, same with you. You've got a full-time job, and you're probably the anomaly for all of us
Yeah.
because you're an empty nester now, right? Like
Right.
your two kids are in college, and I know what you do for a living, and I know what I did for a living, and my wife wants me out of her face most of the time. So it's not a big deal for me to say, hey, I'm taking off for a week and I'm going somewhere because she's like,
Sure.
yeah, good, get out. But for you, um, did you, I don't know how to word this. Did you have to make any sacrifices when your kids were small to get out hunting and get out to do the things, or did you just, you know what, the kids are here, I'm working, I'm with the kids, and now that you're empty nesting, now you're like, well, I don't need to make any sacrifices. I've got the time. My wife is happy. She's got a job. She's got her own thing that she likes to do. We do things together. But is it now where you're like, yeah, I never ever had to make any sacrifices because now I'm doing what I really want to be doing.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. My wife, when she met me, she knew how important spending time in the outdoors was. And she's always been very gracious with allowing me to have some time, even when our kids were real small. But on the flip side, I did the same for her. It wasn't always about me. There was times, hey, you want to go out with your sister? You want to go out with your friends? You want to go have a spa weekend with the girls? It's just trade-offs. And
Yeah,
sure, I didn't have as much time back then, but you know, like we talk about, you got to prioritize things without damaging your family.
that's
I
right.
mean, I know a lot of really great hunters that have been divorced a couple of times, and shit happens.
Yeah.
Not to judge anybody, but like Ellithorpe said, I'm not willing to sacrifice certain things, and
Hmm.
that's gonna hold me back on some things, and I'm okay with that. That's the thing. You got to be okay with it.
Yeah. No, you do 100%. You've got to be, or else you're just going to be miserable, and then that's when things start to fall apart. Craig, for you, and I know, like, and even more so, I would think you're an anomaly now because you and Kiri, both of you enjoy hunting. You
Yep.
both enjoy time in the outdoors. Now you've got your oldest boy, Cam, is now
Caleb.
Caleb, sorry. Caleb is now um he's got his hunting license now, so he'll be able, but now it's going to be three of yous that are
Yep.
able to go hunting. Cam is still a little bit too young, but now how are you, like, that's going to be a bit of a balancing act now between Kiri's job, your job, Caleb's extracurricular activities, and now you guys got to try and find some time to hunt.
Well, the good thing is, when you're trying to prioritize stuff, like now with more of us involved with hunting, it's an easier sell, right? Like to try and put time aside to go hunting, and like I'll hunt, like I hunt a bit of everything, whereas Carrie strictly only wants to do waterfowl. She'll come
Yep.
out for turkey and that,
At a
but
girl.
she just, yeah, bird hunting's more fun, right? And it's easier to get people involved with it, and it's, you can move
Yeah.
around, you can be loud or whatever. But in both her and I, like, yeah, we're busy. We both have full-time jobs, but we both work regular hours. So weekends are always available, nights are always available. So, and we have a ton of vacation time. So it
Hmm.
makes things easy that way. And Carrie's way more social than I am. She's got a much busier social schedule than I do. But we've both always been really good at just kind of, like Brian was saying, like just allowing each other to have that time to do whatever, to take care of whatever priorities we've set, right?
Yeah.
And there's times where one of us will have to rein the other one in, because like right now, like Caleb's 12, and like realizing, like, if he's off to school or something, it's not that far down the road. So there's times where it's like we want to do something on a weekend. It's like, well, but the kids were doing this last weekend, so we didn't really see them. And then if we do this weekend, we're not going to see them. So it's, yeah, there's so much kind of give and take, right? To try and prioritize
Hey,
that. And looking down the road, it's like, okay, like, yeah, we could do it this weekend, but remember, what's the next month look like? What's the next couple of years look like? So there's a lot to weigh in on, right? To kind of figure out what you
well,
want to prioritize.
well, I can tell you, I don't want to say I would have always taken every opportunity or every week and I could have to leave. I won't say that because that wasn't me. But there was times when I would have liked to have been away. Um, and Trish had been like, "Hey, listen, like the just like you were saying, right? Well, the kids were gone. We need you should stay back this week and stay home because the kids and this here." And I can tell you, and Brian will attest to this. I've got my dad, and I don't know, maybe I brought this up on the show before, but like my daughter is away in college right now. You do not know how awesome it was over the Christmas holidays for all four of us to be under the same roof
Yeah.
again. And I'm glad that I didn't act on all the times when I could have went away, or even sometimes when I wanted to go away. I'm glad I didn't, because, and I know you guys have heard it a million times. Don't wish your time away, because it goes by way too fast. You'll have lots of time for
Yeah.
hunting once the kids are gone. But that's, Brian, that was a couple years ago. I was down on Lake Erie hunting with a buddy of mine, Steve Segulik, and some friends had come over, and they had small kids, and they were like, "Yeah, all right, I gotta go. I can't stay and drink because the kids, and well, I can't hunt because of the kids and stuff." And I'm like, "Don't worry, buddy. It's coming. You'll soon have more time on your hands than you know what to do with. So enjoy it while you can."
Well, that's like now, like Caleb. It's like he's 12, and
Go,
there's be times where like I'm like, oh, I should stick around the house and do something with him. And I'm like, you want to do something? He's like, no. And then off he goes on his bike or something. Right? So it's
well,
like, so I make cut no time for them, and they couldn't be bothered. So it's like
yeah,
more of that time's coming.
but I think they, here we go. This is way off topic from waterfowl, because we're talking parenting now. But um, you don't have to do anything with them, buddy. The fact that they know you're back at home and you're not away, they don't realize it now. But in 7 8 years, they were like, Dad was always there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, Dad wasn't gone. Like, they will realize it. I got to step away for a second. Talk amongst yourselves.
And the one
Yeah,
benefit,
I travel for work too, so it's like if I, especially like during the summer, I traveled a bunch, and then I was working weddings on the weekends, and it's like I don't want it to get to a point where like my kids are thinking dad's just gone all the time.
yeah,
But it's also like for me, it's just the nature of my beast is like I have to leave for work, and then it's like if I come home, I try not to travel and hunt all the time. It's tough, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like kind of going back to what Damien was saying. It's like for me, luckily the good and the bad of it is I'm not good enough at anything that I really have to sacrifice time with my family, where I'm like, yeah, I got to get out hunting, I got to chase deer, I got to chase ducks. It's like most things are more of a casual interest sort of thing for me anyway. So yeah, it's like it's easy to kind of to set those priorities and not miss out on certain times, regardless of what it is.
Yeah. It's a it's a weird balancing act for me. Like it's if I'm if I've got weddings on the weekends, like it happens in the off season, and then it's like hunting season rolls around, it's like what I've tried to do is use my vacation time where like I'd be at work regardless, so it wouldn't matter. So I'll take like a morning on a Wednesday or a Thursday off, hunt during the week so that I'm not gone all weekend hunting. I can hunt like a Saturday or a Sunday, and then I'm at least home. But it's a weird balancing act, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you mentioned having plenty of vacation. That's what's nice when you get to a certain stage in your career where, you can go on a 2 week family vacation or break up a couple of weeks with the family and still have a couple of weeks to go hunting for
Right.
yourself. So you're not really having to, sacrifice your own time. You got plenty of it, which makes a
yeah,
huge difference.
Yeah, and that's like now I'll have 4 weeks vacation, 9 personal holidays, and it's like that's a lot of vacation compared to
Oh
what
yeah.
I'm. So it's like now I'll have time if I want to take 2 weeks with my kids or whatever, family, and go do stuff in the summer, then I'll still have like 2 weeks for me to take a day or a half day here and there during the hunting season. That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's nice.
Sorry, boys. I'm just moving and shaking. There's things always something on the go, right? No, you know what? I have no idea how long we've been recording. I really don't. But
It hasn't been an hour yet. I didn't get on. I didn't sign on until almost seven, like right at 7:30.
oh,
We were
really?
chatting for a bit. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'm just looking at the time. I was like, it didn't seem like we've been on an hour, but I don't know.
We've gone all over the place too,
Yeah,
so
we have been going all over the place. Um, I had some notes written down on some stuff that. Oh, this is what I want. I wanted to ask you guys, seeing as though this is the first show of 2025, and let's go around the horn here. We'll start with Craig, but like, what's your goals this year, and it doesn't even need to be goals per se, but what are you looking for? Like, what's the big things that's on the books already for 2025? What are you planning on doing? Anything exciting? And this could be anything. It doesn't have to just pertain to waterfowl hunting.
Starting with me.
Yep.
I think, like I mentioned it last time, like getting Caleb out this spring for turkey season, that's going to be huge. I usually get a fair amount turkey season. It's not a busy time of year for me at work, so a lot of times I'll work from home, and it's like I'll push my day back and get out. So I'm hoping to pull him from school a bunch of days and hopefully get him on a bird and hopefully get Carrie out because she's still never gotten a turkey yet. So that, and just hunting with them in general for 2025 is going to be the big thing. Getting around to do the show with you this season, this at the Sportsman Show and down in Oklahoma City. That's going to be fun.
Right. Yeah, right.
And again, like talking about like prioritizing family and kind of not and dividing your time up. So like for that, going to Oklahoma City, our plan is to, like, my wife and kids are all coming down, so we're going to make a whole family trip out of it. So it's not that much more time away from them, sort of thing. And it's my youngest son's birthday that weekend, so trying to, again, incorporate as much as you can into it. And then
I better see those boys wearing fucking cowboy hats. That's all I'm saying.
Boots, hats, everything.
Oh yeah,
and then like just
painted on Levi's.
Rolling through the season in the fall, and that just kind of building on what was happening this year as far as some new networks and some new permissions, and just kind of trying to build on that and hopefully hit the road a little bit and maybe just try and get a few trips in here and there.
Yeah, no, that's a solid plan, buddy. Ellithorpe, fuck, you don't know because people call you a week before and
Yeah, I really don't know. Like I
be playing with your friggin' new lens. That's what you're going to be doing.
It's on its own case. It's right there.
Whoa.
Big.
How far back away did you have to stand from that thing to get that to fit in that picture you sent us?
Yeah, I was outside my house, and that was in my.
Like, did you get a telescope?
It's massive. So that's
what size lens?
A 500 millimeter prime f4, and then it's got a 1.7x teleconverter on it, so it's going to be full 850 millimeters.
It's got a flux capacitor.
Like, it's almost as tall as Wes. I set it next to him, like up to his shoulder.
Really?
Yeah, like I put it on the ground next to him because he was like, we went and picked. I took him with me to pick it up, and he didn't know what it was, and I brought it in, and I opened it up, and he goes, "Is that new camera?" And I was like, "No, it's new lens." And so I'm showing it to him, and yeah, it's really almost as tall as him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I'm excited to use that thing. I guess that'd be a big one for 2025. I'm gonna see what that thing can do. But that collaboration that I was doing with my buddies up north, actually part of that, I told them they had to take me turkey hunting, so I've never shot a turkey. So it's a big one. We're gonna film some turkey hunts up there. All their property that they have for goose hunting, they also turkey hunt it. So they've got tons of turkey there. Yeah, so I'm gonna hopefully probably shoot my first turkey, which will be cool. And then I'm gonna try and come to the Sportsman Show. Still figuring that out, but then
that'll be awesome.
The Waterfowl Expo, the new waterfowl show that's in Wisconsin. The people that run that are the people I've been doing like the Hunt Mark stuff with and Swiftwater.
Yeah.
They also do that, and my pictures have been the flyer since it started, and so they always send me like a day pass for free or whatever, and they're like, they called me and they want me to come take pictures there and possibly do a seminar for photography. So I'm probably going to be there in August. And then otherwise, I have no idea. I'm sure that there was some stuff I was trying to work out this year with a few people that I met at Game Fair to go film, but I don't know if we'll try and do that next year. It's just hopefully. I mean, I'd like to do some other cool stuff, but then obviously we'll film the show.
We'll get to Brian here in a second, but I wanted to touch on that. So now, you started this networking, like you were doing this before you met Sean, and you were doing stuff for Tango Free and all that stuff, right? Like you were doing it, and then
Yeah.
you got, you started networking and you started going around, and now you're at the point now where I just don't have the time to do everything that, and that's a good problem to have. Don't
It
get me
is.
wrong.
Yeah.
It's a good
It's,
problem to have. It's just how fast does that happen? Because that's Ellithorpe, like what, 2 years ago?
yeah. It was like as soon as it was yeah, pretty much as soon as I started doing stuff with Tango Free and Sean, it was just like
Yeah.
that was also at that time I started doing a lot more social media stuff too, and it was
Okay.
like it all was kind of the perfect storm where
Yeah.
like when I went to Game Fair, it was crazy. I walk up to like Billy Campbell and I'm like, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm Brian Althorpe, nice to meet you." And he's like, "Brian, I know. I seen you on
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Why?"
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. It's awesome.
Like and then it was like it was cool to like walk through Game Fair of people that like either I had talked to online or never met, and they know they'd seen stuff that I've done.
Right.
That was probably the most surreal part of it. And plus, when you're walking around Game Fair and you've got an R&T calls lanyard on saying that you're at the booth, like that
Yeah.
also helpful. So
Yeah.
it's like
This is a little bit of a swagger going. Um, Brian, what about you, buddy? What's 2025 looking like right now? I know we're only, 4 days into it, but
Yeah, on waterfowl related, I've got to get organized and purged. I've been in this house since 1999, and every year I say I'm going to go through here and purge. Well, now we're packed to the gills, and the problem was the last couple years my daughters were in and out of dorm rooms, so every
yeah,
semester I was bringing crap back and piling it up and taking it out. Well, now they each have their own apartment, so they're going to be staying put for a couple of years.
yeah,
And this is my opportunity. I just have to pull everything out of here. Garbage pile, recycle pile, stuff I'm keeping pile.
yeah.
And then I might have to do some truck shopping.
Oh,
Like
yes.
Ellithorpe was talking about, stuff happens and I'm pretty much still a nobody in the waterfowl industry, but I got a message from somebody that says, "Hey, I was scouting here and I think I saw your truck."
Oh,
I was like, how in the heck did you remember that?
yep,
But then I remembered I put out a video about my duck rig, not
yeah,
even thinking like I probably shouldn't have done that. And I have no stickers. I don't
yeah,
advertise
yeah.
anything on my truck at all. But anyway, as far as waterfowl related, I got invited to be in the Bluebird waterfowl booth at the Harrisburg show. That's one of my partners.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly which days I'm going to be there, but I'll mention it on my socials and stuff once I get something locked down
awesome.
and
George, George and
hope
the
to see a
boys are
bunch of
great.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, George and the boys are great dudes. Great dudes. Actually,
absolutely.
I don't know if you know this, but when George was starting Bluebird, I was one of the first people that jumped in on Kickstarter for Bluebird.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yep. Not a big deal.
Damien just makes this happen all the time.
No, but that's it, it's good. When you talk about the truck, when I first started the brand, I had this idea. I'm gonna go wrap the truck, right? And Punisher Waterfowl, big, like just do this big truck. And then somebody said, "Why would you do that?" And I'm like, "Why wouldn't I do that?" And they were like, "Every fucking place you hunt, someone is gonna know it's you." And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
and you know what? I never even thought about it.
yeah.
Never even for a second thought about it. And if it
Right.
wasn't for someone telling me, like, you're crazy to go
Hmm.
wrap your truck. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so, eh?
So my truck last year, I had a different truck and it was always in my videos and stuff. And I would get Snapchats all the time of people driving by parking lots, marinas, stuff like that. And they'd take
Yeah.
pictures of the truck and be like, "Oh, I see you're out."
And some people love to do that too. They're like,
Oh,
"Ah,
I know.
I got you." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
why do
Yeah.
you have to tell
I don't give a
everybody?
shit. And but it was like this year, I haven't gotten a single one. I got a new truck, didn't put a topper on it, didn't put a sticker on it, nothing. And it was like crazy how many people didn't know where I was.
Right.
Not that I care that much, but it was like
Sure.
it was hilarious. Like it'd be almost every time I go out, somebody would send me a picture like, "Oh, you're out whatever," and it's like I didn't care. But then it's like this year, it's just been nope.
Nice.
Yeah, unless they see
Nice.
my boat and they're like, "Oh, it's you."
Well, yeah, so that was the thing for me when I had my mud boat because there wasn't many around here. So there was
Oh,
me, Jason Sear, Brendan Veerman. There's only a handful of guys that had them, right? So, it was pretty easy to figure out who was who.
oh
Um,
yeah.
so that was yeah, that was weird though. And but that's the world we live in now because unfortunately, we have people that scout through the socials
Yeah.
and right, like
Oh yeah.
which is mind-boggling to me. But that's how they do it, and they want to see where everybody else is and stuff. So whatever, good on you. Like go for it. Like do whatever. I really don't care. Um,
They see that a lot in like the fishing groups on Facebook and that, where it's like
oh
guys have
yeah.
their picture on the boat, but like the whole background's
Oh yeah.
blurred or scratched out.
Hmm.
Well, those
Been doing
and
that a
and
lot more this year, I've noticed, is like if they
Yeah.
shoot like a prize bird, then they'll like completely black out the background behind them. And I'm
oh
like,
really?
if you're that worried about it, just don't post it. But at the same time, it's like you could also just wait a few days and then
Yeah,
post
yeah.
it.
Hmm.
I did it once. This one field I had, and I had sole permission on it, but like there was always it was a pretty busy area, and I remember taking one picture, and I had like one or two birds that day, like that was it. And there was a couple of barns, and like this was right close to a major highway, and there was a couple of barns in the back on a neighboring property that you could see. So I used when I went into the picture, used the magic eraser and just
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
got rid
yeah.
of those two barns in the back because they're pretty distinct. I'm like, I'm just gonna remove those.
Well, that's been happening to me lately on like Instagram and TikTok. I've been putting up videos of, just stuff that I shot, either like when we were filming with Sean and there's an island in the background. And
Mhm.
like if you're from here, you know what it is, but if you don't, you'd never be able to find it. And people were like trying to like, I gotcha, it's that island. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to hide it. Like I didn't it. But people
Yeah.
were really
Yeah,
like
this is
stoked
not
about that's that island. I'm like, yeah, I don't if I really cared, I wouldn't have put up the video. I
that's
don't care.
right. I
But
I tried to only because when I was out west, Claudio and the boys, they don't like their locations being shown, right? And for obvious reasons.
that's fair. It's their livelihood. But
It's their livelihood. So I was always really really conscious about taking pictures and I would before I would even post anything, like I'd be out and then I would wait until I got back in the evening and I'd see Claudio and I was like, is it okay if I can post this? And he was like, it's a grain silo, buddy. He was like,
there's 400 of them.
yeah, there's a million of them out here. No one's going to be able to figure it out from a grain silo, right?
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, I know, but like the last thing I wanted to do was post something and then,
yeah, you're trying
one
to
of
be
those
respectful.
one of those guides see it and then they were like, what are you doing? That's the last thing I wanted to have happen. So,
That whole trip looked insane.
yeah, it was, yeah, it was. Fuck, I'm not gonna even try to downplay it. Like it was awesome. It was more than I thought it was gonna be. I'll put it to, and Craig knows because I talked to Craig about it and the boys so much. Like I had no intentions of guiding, like zero. I had zero appetite for it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want the stress. I didn't want anything to do with guiding. I was gonna go out just because I wanted to be around hunters all fall, around good hunting, get some in myself, and then hang out with Claudio and that team, right?
Right.
And then when I got out there and seen how they operate, I'm like, I could totally be a guide out here.
Yeah.
And just the way that they operate their system, and I'll say it, and I've got no problem saying it, and people can write me and tell me I'm right out of it and the whole bit, and I really don't care. But if you do a season of guiding and you're beat to a snot, your system is wrong
Not for sure. Yeah.
because it wasn't like that for us.
I think that's the difference between like having an enjoyable experience with somebody has a nicely oiled system.
Yeah. Well,
Opposed
and
to-
they've been doing it for 20 years.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you talk to like Jeff
Yeah.
about his service,
Yeah.
out in Maryland, it's like
hmm
he doesn't look beat down all the time. He's
So,
got a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
that's right.
Whereas
He's got
I
it all
talk to
figured
some
out.
of my buddies out here on the like, or even people I don't know, like you'll see them and you're just like, you look like you're struggling. Like it's
Yeah.
that kind of shit can really take a toll on you if you don't have everything really well dialed in.
Well, and I think one of the biggest things um and listen, I got to preface what I said that if you're in an area that has that it's hard to find birds, then yes,
Oh,
100%.
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
You're going to have a hard time. But if you're in an area where there's lots of birds, yeah, like where I was, nobody should be dragging their ass around every day. Like, no, I'm sorry. But if you're especially those guys on the Great Lakes, like on that big water, like that's got to be hard to be finding birds. Like it's a little different on the water than it is in the fields, I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
think.
And it's like you said, if you're in an area where there's not a lot of birds, it's probably also not a destination hunt for most
That's
people.
right. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it's here, it's everybody wants to hunt the big water, and there's a lot of area to cover to find the birds, but you can kind of pattern. If you're out there every day, you can pretty well pattern them and kind of see where they're going to
Right.
be, where they've been sitting, and that kind of thing. And then dealing with the weather, obviously a little different on big water than in the fields, but there's a lot of places that I've seen or that I've talked to people, and it's just like they run themselves into the ground trying to make it work, and it's like
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
It-
No, because you're taking the fun away out of it.
right. Yeah.
Right. That like once the fun is taken out of it, well then, why if it wasn't fun, it'd be hard for me to wake up at 3 a.m.
For sure. Well, it's the same thing with just freelance hunting. If you
Yeah.
are in an area where you just never shoot birds, or if you
Yeah.
try and hunt the same spot every day and you don't see any birds, it's like those people don't last very long. But if you're somebody that will move around and find birds, and
Mm-hmm.
or if you travel and hunt, it's like that kind of lights the fire under most people and will keep them going. But if if they just do the same thing every day and they don't
It's
have
hard, man. It
success,
is.
they'll be the first ones to go.
Yeah. And it is. I don't want to make it seem like everybody should be happy-go-lucky the way it was for me. I'm talking about in a place where, you're seeing, I'll give you an example. We would not, if I didn't have 1,000 specs on the ground, we didn't even look at it.
Crazy.
Like 1,000 specs was the minimum. It had to be 1,000 specs to go in on a spec hunt. Now Canada's, you could do Canada's on 100, but because specs don't react. But on specs, if you didn't have 1,000 specs, you're not even setting up on that. So that's what I'm talking about. Like that's how many birds are out there, right? Like to see 40,000 birds wasn't crazy,
That's awesome.
But
And as far as an experience, like your location, the operation you were a part of, you were
That's
set
right.
up for a successful
That's right.
experience, right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. And I guess that's what I should have prefaced that statement, because I'm sure there were some fellas their fucking tops were about to blow off their heads there when I said that. They were like, "Whoa, I'm gonna punch him in the fucking face."
But you still need to have a well-oiled machine, even
you
if
do. You
an
got
area
to.
that's tough, like to be able to do it for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Boys, we can keep this going and keep shooting the shit, but my son is in his room playing video games, and my wife, my daughter, has gone to watch a movie, and you guys are it for me tonight. So I've got all the time in the world. So if you guys want to hang out longer, we can. If you want to shut her down, we can. It's really entirely up to you, because we've gone over our hour now. So it's really your guys' call. Like I said, I'm still good to go, but
I've
it's up
still
to
got a
you.
bottle of whiskey and some mix, so I'm good with whatever.
Awesome. There you go. Well, we'll go for another little bit until we start boring ourselves and start repeating ourselves and shit, and then I did want to take, if people are still listening, and Brian, you brought it up, or Ellithorpe, you brought it up, and Brian, I know you're sort of going to try and get up to Toronto too, right?
Oh yeah.
It's going to be hard, but this Toronto Sportsman Show and this idea of the refuge that we do, I've been saying it for a couple years, and I've been saying it especially since COVID has ended, that I believe the outdoor show, the trade show, is making a comeback. And I really do believe it, because I think once COVID hit and everybody got locked down and the only interaction they had was through video calls and shit, I think people realized that this isn't enough. I need some social I need to hug somebody, shake hands, high five, whatever it is. And I honestly do believe that people want these outdoor shows, and I think you're going to see a comeback on them. And which is, down in the States is one thing, because you have such a massive population and such a huge hunting community down there. But for Canada, like, it's happening here. Like, it is. Like, we're starting to see it, and people are starting to get excited about it. And I can't tell you how excited I am for March 13th to come, because it's going to be a blast again this year, and we've got some new companies coming in. We lost a couple from last year, and rightfully so. They didn't get the return on their investment that they were hoping, and I totally get it, and I understand it. But we've got some new companies coming in this year, and I can't wait. Can't friggin' wait. It's going to be such a good time. And the fact that I'll have Craig, Mark, and Phil in the booth with me this year, along with my young fella, and then you guys might be making a trip up if you can. I just think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I really hope that I can get up there.
And it is hard, and I get it, right? But for Americans, what I say to Americans is that, fuck, now is the time to come to Canada. You're bang for your buck right now.
We're under 70 cents now, right?
Yeah, we're under 70 cents right now.
Huh.
Like, that is
Real rich up there.
what's
the
that?
the exchange rate's quite favorable for you guys.
Oh man, is it ever?
Crazy.
It is fucking insane right now, and I don't think it's going to get any better. I don't see it getting any better for the next year.
Hmm.
So yeah, so any American brands, if you are listening to this and you want to get in front of some Canadians, shoot me a message. I can figure something out for you.
Yeah, so you saying that about the shows making a comeback. I mean, even that Waterfowl Expo in Wisconsin, that's fairly new, and it's a
Yeah.
newer it has been a 1 day for the last 2 years, I think, and then this year it's gonna be a 2 day. And a lot of the people that were at Game Fair were talking about not coming back to Game Fair because it's that 2 weekend deal, and they
Oh,
just
that's a horrible idea, that two
oh
weekend
yeah.
deal.
It sucks for people. Like, I mean, Sean brought his boat down and went and fished for the week, but then he's still gone for 2 weeks. But it's like,
That's right.
that's what everybody was saying. It's like either a lot of the people that were there, they used to go down, then they would leave Monday or Sunday evening and drive up to North Dakota because it was the opener of their early season. So then they go up there to Goose
Oh,
and then
okay.
they come back for the last weekend. Well, the dates didn't line up, and with their new regulations and all that stuff, they haven't been like nobody could go do it. So it was everybody that was down there was like, well, we're just going to go to the Wisconsin show since it's a 2 day, and then we don't have to worry about Game Fair. So kind of
What
sucks for the Game Fair itself, but maybe that'll get like open their eyes to like maybe we don't make
wasn't wasn't
2 day.
Game Fair hot as balls last year too? Like, wasn't it like extremely uncomfortably hot at Game Fair
No,
last year?
I was wearing a sweatshirt a couple of days. Like
Oh, really?
it wasn't like in the mornings it was like 60. It really wasn't
Oh,
that, but I
I
mean,
think the Rogers one was real hot.
yeah, that
oh,
one's the one that everybody's complaining about.
Yeah.
okay. It was the
Yeah.
Rogers one,
Yeah, because
and
that's
that
Missouri,
one's in Kansas or Missouri.
Kansas City or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it. I can imagine that it was so hot down there that people wouldn't want to go back. But I mean, even that Louisiana show, I'm sure that was hot.
It was hot outside, but inside it was magical.
That's true. Yeah, it's the
You
inside.
just can't
Rogers was
leave.
in the parking lot, I think.
Yeah, well, see, that's like what they did at the raceway for the DU one a couple
That's
years
right.
ago,
Yeah.
right? They had that at the raceway, and that was in Texas in like
Ooh,
July. Like,
Right.
it was nasty.
Yeah.
that's
Um,
some poor planning.
Yeah.
Well, I think the idea, like, we're gonna have it at I don't know where it was. I don't know if it's Talladega or wherever the fuck it was.
Can't
I have no
remember
idea.
the raceway it was. Yeah.
I don't know, but it'd be pretty cool to be at a raceway to do it, especially if it's big, right? Like a massive show. Um, but if you're outside just baking in the sun all day,
It's
like,
just melting.
oh, you
Yeah.
can just everybody's getting ornery. Like, how much is your goose call? It's fucking written right there how much it is. You know what I mean? Like, people are just they're tired, man. They're tired and they're dehydrated and the whole bit. Anyways, but so maybe it was the Rogers one that was last year that was super hot. But
Could be. Yeah. But I mean, even
I
like so that
I've
one.
always wanted to go. Sorry, I didn't cut you off,
You're good.
Ellithorpe, but um, I've always wanted to do the Harrisburg one. Like, I
That's a
really,
huge show.
but that's in November, right?
February, first week of
What
February.
one is? What's the one that's in November? That's in Maryland or Delaware or uh
The Easton show.
Easton? That's the one.
We're in the middle of our hunting season, so
Well,
that's a tough one.
so
Yeah.
the Easton
Yeah.
one for me always falls during the 11th of November, and that's
Mhm.
like for you guys. I think you guys call it like Veterans Day.
Yeah.
You guys call it Veterans Day, which is celebrated, but your big day is Memorial Day for your veterans, right? Well, we don't have a Memorial Day. We just have the 11th of November, so that's our big day. So the 11th of November, I don't tend to venture too far away from home on that day. I usually like to stay close to home on that day. So if it wasn't for that, I would go to Easton because Jeff Coates goes to Easton and Molly's is there and they do a big thing and the whole bit. And I'd love to be down there and take part in it. And I'd love to be able to hang out with Jeff, which I just seen the other day. He had someone cancel 2 days, and I was like, oh man, how bad do I want to just call him up and say I'm coming, man, and I am, but I've got so much on the go in the next few months, I just can't pull it off. But anyways, another.
Yeah, that Easton show, it's like the whole town.
Yeah, yeah,
It's,
like you can't even drive your car, like it's buses.
it's all buses, they shuttle everybody, but it's like there's stuff everywhere. So it's like you're not just like in one little area
Mhm.
of it. It's all over the place.
But
But
what
that would
about that?
be cool to see.
But what about the Harrisburg show, Brian? Like, what I've heard of the Harrisburg show, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah. It's one of the oldest in the country. And the unique thing about that, they have it at a fairgrounds, which has like, I don't know, 15 buildings. So every part of the hunting industry has its own building. You've got archery building, you've got a waterfowl
Oh,
building,
cool.
you've got a
Sweet.
guides and outfitter building. And you can't, I mean, you can zip through it in a day, but you're gonna miss a ton. You
Right.
gotta spend at least 2 or 3 days there for sure. It's worth checking out at least once.
Well, so that was my plan this year for the refuge is that so the last 2 years, and I don't want to say it was bad location. It wasn't ideal location, but it wasn't bad. We were just off the beaten path a little bit, and I think we may have missed some people. But the merch time frame up here, in my opinion, Craig, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think the majority of Canadians are either, or the majority of people that are coming through that show, if you're a hunter, your only focus is turkey, and the majority of the people is coming in to get ready for fishing. So they're coming in to get, their rods and the reels and the lures and
Yeah,
all
the
that
fishing
shit,
hall's busy.
right? So, and I got nothing against them, but and here's the method to my madness. So tell me if I'm right, Ediver, when I say this. So when I have, because I'm the contact point, right, with all the vendors that are in the refuge. So when they see 4,000 people just walking past them and not even coming in, then they're like, this, what, we're missing out on so many
Mhm.
people. What's going on here? Why are we doing this? Why are we here? We got to do more signage. We got to do all these things. and some of that's correct, and I'll give it to him that some of that's correct. But my rebuttal is that, hey, listen, out of those 4,000 people you just seen walk by, 3,500 of them are not hunters.
Right.
They're fishermen or fisher
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Fuck, you don't want to get anybody mad at me or anything, but they're looking to go and buy stuff for fishing. They're not interested in hunting. So,
Sorry. I'll be right back. Give me one.
yep, I have no idea what he just said because it was like Charlie Brown's teacher. But this year, what I've done, so at the show, they do a big dog trial. They make this big area for dog trials, and they're doing pointers and all this stuff. And I thought, that's the people I want to be around. I want to be around the dog people.
Yeah.
So when I approached the Toronto Sportsman Show, the management team, and I'm like, hey, listen, I want to be down where the dogs are. And they're like, really? Like, and it's way off. It's down in another hall. But the people that come in are people that are my people. They're not fishermen, right? The fishermen aren't going to come all the way down there because they got into their fishing stuff. Yeah, I got it. I spent my money. Now I'm leaving. I'm out of here. The people that come down there, they are the people that I want. That's my reasoning. And I don't know if that's the right reasoning or not, but I guess it's one of those things where you got to try it because this is your idea, this is your thinking, so try it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, well, then I guess it's back to the drawing board again, right?
And yeah, the people that are coming looking for you are going to go.
Right.
And then the people you're in, and then there's a lot of people that are just going to check the whole show because they've spent the money to come in. Then they're
That's
just
right.
going to spend the day walking. But yeah, like you said, that fishing hall has its own entrance on the side. So, and you're in the GTA, right? There's tons of people in the GTA that hunt, but there's even more that fish.
Yeah.
There's some great fishing around the GTA with all the rivers and the lake being right there. So a lot of those people are going to come in directly into that hall, grab their fishing stuff, and go. And some are gonna, they're gonna be kind of some bycatch, but for the most part, those people are just gonna come and go.
Yeah. And for anybody that's wondering, Craig's talking GTA. It's the Greater Toronto Area, which I think Mark Vitch Googled it. I'll Google it, but I think like Toronto is like the 6th biggest city in North America, something like that. Yeah, like the GTA is like the 6th biggest in North America. Like it's a massive amount of people. It's not the size of LA or New York, but it's up there. I don't know, like it I wish I could be the fella that brings everybody in and then wash my hands of it. Right there. Okay, you're all here. Okay, now let's just go drink beer and have a good time. I don't want to talk about responsibility. You got a problem? Yeah, don't talk to me about it. I don't want to hear about problems. You know what I mean? It's just, and I get it because these people, like, it's not cheap to come to do one of these shows, right? Your hotels, your meals, everybody is having a few drinks in the evenings, plus your booth costs and then your shipping to get stuff up. Like I know Craig Mintz, and that's what pisses me off when fellows say, well, there's no good deals at these shows.
Yeah.
There's no good do you realize how much money does a business or a brand have to lose before the customer is happy, before the customer thinks that they've got a good deal? And I understand, like, it's expensive. I totally get it. It is. Everything's fucking expensive. I don't know what it's like down in the States. Actually, your inflation in the States is higher than what it is in Canada, which is hard to believe.
It's brutal.
Yeah, like your inflation is higher in the States than what it is in Canada, which is bonkers to me, which blows my mind. So, when a business, so I'll take Craig Mintz, for example, with Real Geese. So I've got Craig Mintz from Real Geese, Quick Koi's, and Show Me Ducks. That's 3 major companies coming in from the States this year for the Toronto Sportsman Show. The cost for them to get product over the border, and trust me, the Canadian Border Agency, they're going to get their taxes because they're like, well, you're bringing product to a trade show, you're going to try and sell it, so they're going to tax them on that. How much money does a brand have to lose on a product before a customer thinks that a customer is happy and they think they're getting a good price on it? And I know you guys don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. I don't think anybody knows the fucking answer. But can we appreciate the fact that they're spending money that they'll never recover just to get there?
Yeah. And people look at it the wrong way too. I mean, it's an opportunity to get hands-on stuff because people always complain, "Oh, I hate to order things because I want to see it, I want to try it, I want to feel it."
Mm-hmm.
And also you're not paying shipping. So you're already getting
Yeah.
a savings there. So like, yeah, you're not going to please everybody, unfortunately.
Especially in Canada. Like if Craig's bringing that stuff across, they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
There's not that increased cost if they order it from him because I know Craig's been trying to help
Yeah.
get stuff over to you guys, but it's like that he's eating all that. You know,
Yeah, well, so here's the best one, and here's another tangent. So about a year ago, Craig and I were talking. I was like, "Have you filled out for like free trade shit?" Like, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, you're completely made in America." I said, "If everything is made in America," I said, "it's free trade coming across the border." That's what Donald Trump is all pissed off about with making Canada the 51st state and all this stuff. That's another episode. We'll get into that, but that's one of the things he's pissed off is because the states lose out on some money with the free trade, right? And I get it. So Craig goes out and he makes the announcement. Hey, it's duty free. So we can ship it across. So you're not paying the duty. You're still going to pay something.
oh yeah.
The government's still going to get something out of you, and you still
yeah.
got your shipping. And he's people are still fucking complaining to him. Well, I didn't think it was going to be that much money. Well, then you're an asshat because you didn't do your research. Like it's not his, and they're lucky that Craig is who he is because he tries to accommodate people, because the majority of people to be just like, yeah, I'm sorry, buddy, you hit okay on the spend button, you're on your own. You know what I mean? Like, just like, how much do you have to do for somebody? And listen, I get it, things are expensive, but you can't expect the business to eat every cost because they won't be in business for very long if they do that.
Right. Well, I think it's the difference between like the Toronto Sportsman Show and all the other shows that we have in the States is that there's going to be a lot more American companies in these American shows, but trying to get American companies over to Toronto is where it becomes tough, I'm sure.
It does. It does. And because of the just on the investment that they have to make just to get across the border, right? And
Then for
now,
them to also try to run a sale while they're over there, they're shooting themselves in the foot. Where like all of the shows in America, they can run sales because they're really just driving to the show. They're not paying anything extra.
yeah, but then, we talked about the exchange rate. So Keith Beecham, who owns Quick Coys, when him and I originally started talking, and he brought up the idea about sponsorship and stuff, and I gave him the package for sponsorship, and he was like, "This is a no-brainer." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well," he said, with the exchange rate and the amount of advertising I'm going to get from the show and from Punisher, he said, plus I get the booth, plus I get this, plus I get this. He said, this is a fucking no-brainer. He said, because I'm not paying in I'm paying in Canadian dollars. He said, so this is it's so much easier. It's like
Pennies.
yeah, pennies. He's like
If we had them anymore.
Yeah, we don't even have pennies anymore. So, do you know what I mean? So trying to draw the, but then, at the Delta Expo, and I don't think I'm going to blow anybody's mind when I say this. and I don't think I'm going to upset anybody when I say this, but at the Delta Expo last year, there wasn't any great deals to be had at the Delta Expo last year. There wasn't. Like all the like all the big names were there. Everybody was there. But everybody's got their stuff marked down to the lowest point already. They can't bring it down any lower. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe, like, I don't know, like if you, some places, if you bought a t-shirt, you got a t-shirt, but like you weren't getting a 2-for-1 deal on decoys
Yeah,
or on calls. Do you know what I mean?
It was the same way at Game Fair, and then we have a local one called the Point Malay Waterfowl Festival. It's a little bit north of me.
I wanted to do that one. They reached
Yeah,
out to me actually to come.
I told them to. So I've been helping them try to do some advertising and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Maybe I'll help a lot more. But um, so that one historically has always been a huge show. There's always a lot of local people that come there, and like even some places throughout the country will come. And it's just a cool area, historic area, and so like it's just always been the show. You know, it's close to home too for me at least, so I always go up there.
Yeah.
But since COVID, it's just kind of taken a hit. Nobody really goes there. So last year was kind of like, well, we'll try to they were pushing for it hard and then reaching out to me to try to help. And this year it's going to be a lot more. So I've gotten to be friends with the people that do it through that collaboration with my friends up north. And so that just seeing like the effort that they put in last year to like trying to reach out to people and get people up there, the show was massive this year. There was probably 4 times as many people as I've seen up there.
Really?
It's after COVID. Before COVID, it was just as packed, but it's like
Is that on Saginaw Bay?
no, it's probably an hour and 20 minutes from Saginaw Bay.
Which is
It's
not far.
right at about it's about the mouth of the Detroit River into Lake Erie.
Okay. Okay.
So like part of the Point Moulet waterfall area is like right at the mouth and that kind of extends down 10 miles or so. But it's a really cool area. Like it's all like there's public spots of it. It's a draw hunt 3 days a week or four, I can't remember, but it's still like in-person draws and all that, but it's just kind of out on like this peninsula of part of the property. And they've got kids stuff, they've got dog trials, dock jumping, layout, shoot
Sweet.
competition. Like it's just all cool stuff that you can go do there. And so that's been like when you're talking about these shows coming back, like I feel like that one's starting to come back. There's another one that I think you're thinking of in Saginaw Bay that's called the Bay City Waterfowl Festival.
Okay. Yeah.
So that one's up there too. And there was that one since it was newer was attracting a lot more people. And it's it's a balancing act there because it's like you've got people in Michigan, they're going up to this Bay City one. It's earlier than the Point Malay one that's kind of in the middle of their goose season. So you
Mm.
can't get guides up there. You can't get like some of the companies that are traveling around during the hunting season. You know, it's like that's been a point of contention too.
How far away is Point Moulet from you? Because I think you're like 5 hours away from me.
So it's 40 minutes north of me.
Oh, so under 6 hours. Hey, Craig, maybe we go to Point Malay. When is that?
I'm game.
I think it's going to be the weekend. It's the third weekend in September.
Oh, I'm not here. No.
That's probably around my anniversary. Whatever.
There you go. And you're
Make
not coming-
sacrifices, buddy. I'll be right back, boys.
But I was just gonna say too, like kind of talking about like the show's coming back, but then people complain that there's no deals. I think there's kind of like a catch-22 because I think over the last couple of years, people want to get back out to the shows, and I think we're kind of in this weird generation within the hunting community where it used to be the old boys, everything had to be done in person, and then we kind of went through a generation where everybody was fine with everything being online. Now we've got kind of this in between, and I think the shows are getting busier, but I think a lot of the people that are coming they're coming to chat, they're coming to see these people that they see on YouTube, and they're coming to meet those personalities. And like I'm guilty of it too. It's like when I go to the shows, I spend all day just walking and talking to everybody. Like, and
Yeah.
I, even when I'm not at a booth, I'm just walking and chatting to everybody I know, and then I walk out and I've spent maybe $100 in the day. Right. So it's like I'm there for a day out to talk to people, and I think that's what a lot of the attendees are doing. They're coming to just chat and then walking out the door and not spending money. And, you know, they've reached their goals of talking to these people that they see online and that, but now the people who paid to come and to be part of the show haven't made anything. Yeah, they put, you know, they wave the flag and push the brand a bit, but at the end of the day, if they're not selling anything, maybe they don't come back, right? So it's that this weird kind of catch-22.
Well, so I think, and maybe, you know, anybody that's listening, they could disagree with me, but I think the brands, so in the waterfowling world, so let's use the refuge for an example. That happens in merge. There's no duck hunting that's happening in merge. So I am 100% on board with someone that comes in and is just walking around taking it all in and they spend $30. As long as that person doesn't get on social media talking about how shitty the show was.
Yeah.
Right?
Or worse, the guy who hasn't been there in 20 years complaining about how crappy the show is.
So if you come in and your goal is, I want to meet this person, I want to talk to this, and I want to see all the shit that's going on, if that's your goal, good. You paid your fee, you came in and you accomplished your goal. If your goal is to come in and expect to get a $200 motion decoy for $100, and then you're just going to fucking complain because you didn't get that, then those are the people that sort of kind of piss me off. Yeah. And they're not wrong. They've got the right. They can choose and say whatever the frig they want. But I don't think you have a right to complain if you don't get $100 knocked off the piece of equipment that you want.
Yeah, just because you had completely unmanaged expectations.
Yeah.
Right.
Brian, you were going to say something?
Well, there was a at Game Fair, there's one example, I guess. So we were hanging out with the Lucky Duck guys, and they had a deal there where you could get the Lucky, I think it's the 4x8 that
the blind.
Their A-frame.
Yep.
With the flip top, and it was like $450, something ridiculously cheap. And they were complaining because they're like, everybody tells us that, they want deals, but then we run this crazy deal and nobody buys it.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Like, if people aren't gonna own up and be like, well, I'll go there and buy something if it's a good deal, but then there's good deals there and they're not buying, and it's what are you gonna do?
Yeah, but now I say all this, but yet last year at the show we had an amazing show. Like the Punisher brand, we had an amazing show. We sold a ton of stuff. We made money, and I think the majority of all the other places they didn't make a bunch of money. But I don't think they went in the red is what I mean. But again, I think they had everything. I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for Craig Mintz because that's somebody that I work with very closely. So I know everything that goes on with him. And I know Craig Mintz had his mark down to the bare minimum where he's just breaking even on it. So he's not losing money. And he did okay.
Yeah.
And there were layout boats and everything sold, like in the refuge, right? Like it's like it wasn't just little, it wasn't just a call here and there. There were some big products.
Trinkets, yeah. Well, I know Rusty Heron had his, like he told me, the best show he's ever done.
Yeah,
was last year on Goose Calls, and so there was money spent and there was people that were very happy. Like I brought the Dirty Duck coffee up. Like those guys sent me up a bunch of coffee and they were like, and I told them, I said, boys, I don't want to make any money on this. I don't need to make any money. Just send it up, pay for the shipping up and pay for the shipping back on what I don't sell. I said, and let's do that. You know what I mean? And they sent up a Pollock. Man, I sold a ton of coffee.
I bet.
And it's not cheap coffee, especially for a Canadian, right? When you're used to just going to a Tim Hortons and paying your $1.50 for a cup of coffee, much like Dunkin' Donuts, just drive through, pick up your freaking coffee and you're on your way. Like it's not cheap coffee, but it's good and people appreciated that it was good and they they bought the shit out of it. So we had a good year last year. We really did, but there was And I know Craig's talking about it because there was people that were like, well, the show was horrible and the whole bit. And I think Craig, it was you that said, well, were you at the show this year?
Yeah.
No, I haven't been to the show in 10 years. Well, then how do you know if it's good or
Yeah.
bad? Like
Did a
you,
bunch of that on Facebook. It's like, oh, I haven't gone in 10 years because it was crap. It's like, well, why are you talking?
yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff's annoying.
But so Harrisburg, you got Easton, you got Game Fair, you got Rogers, the Delta Expo. I don't think the Delta Expo and the DU events are as big as what they would hope they would be, but there is such a thing as just overloading the system too, right? Like you can't have too many shows.
Yeah.
Because I know, like Bobby Hayes said, like the old Rogers show, like that was the chance. This was before the internet and before, so like everybody showed up to the Rogers show because this was your chance to see the new products. Just like what you said, Brian, it was a chance to touch it, try it on, work with it, see if it's going to work within your system or within the way that you. So that was the way Bobby Hayes said that the East, not the Eastern show, but the Rogers show used to be. It used to be massive because everybody came in to see. Okay, this is the new stuff this year, and they got a chance to try it out. And that's roundabout long ways away when we were talking about the Toronto show in particular. It's merch. I think most of the brands understand that they're not going to sell a ton of stuff. But if people are coming up and engaging and talking to them, the feelers are there, and now they know that that brand has something that they want. So they may not be buying it in merch, but they will be buying it in August.
Well, and then
You know what I
March,
mean?
people are eager to just get out, talk about hunting, and kind of
Yeah,
get that fire building again, too.
Yeah, and here a lot of our shows are anywhere from, they're mostly May, June, July,
that's right.
August. Like,
Yep.
then you've got people who have rolled out new gear in June or July to get it in front of people for the new season. And it's like that helps those brands get that new stuff in front of these people. And
Of course.
yeah, I think it's tough like with the Easton show and Point Mulay show that are basically in season to try and get everybody to go
Yeah.
up there.
But
But
I don't know about the Point Mulay, but I can tell you the Easton show, like it's massive.
oh yeah.
Like it's big. So that's impressive that the season is on and when people could be hunting, they're at this show.
Yeah. Well, and with
But
the world stuff being there too, it's like
yeah,
it's helpful
yeah,
to
that
draw
yeah,
that crowd. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, fair. Boys, I think we're gonna call her because we're going on to 2 hours here and we're getting close to it. And you know what? It was a great show, boys. I gotta tell you, it was a great show because um honest to God, it just flowed and it was a good way to kick off 2025. And I can't thank you enough for coming on. Even though it, Brian, you'll get used to it. Ellithorpe knows, but it's usually always last minute. Just like I'm making fun of the guys that book them for the weddings. It's usually like 48 hours, and I'm like, hey, you want to come on the show? Yeah, and
That's
I know
all right. I
Ellithorpe's
got
always.
a tally going against Jeff, so
Oh, you're. I think you're 2 episodes ahead of Jeff right now.
I'm at least one, I think, right now.
I think
Yeah,
you're
you've
two,
always
but
got that vested interest to not say no.
Yeah, I'm pretty good to just go. I tell my wife, "Hey, Canadian Damien wants me to come up,
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about
Well,
whatever the hell comes to mind."
yeah. Well, we just got to make sure that we, as long as the kid, see, the beauty with you is that as long as the kids are in bed, you're golden.
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Once the kids are in bed, the wife was like, "You do whatever the frig you want to do. You got those two terrors put to bed. That's all that matters."
It was easy tonight.
I remember. Boys, let's do a quick round the table and then we'll end her for the night. Craig, to you first, buddy.
Good chatting with you guys. Hopefully your 2025 started off well and it just gets better.
Ellithorpe.
I appreciate it. Always like coming on, just bullshitting for however long we feel like talking. And yeah, it's always a pleasure.
You're awesome. Brian?
Yeah, this was great. I appreciate you having me back on. Happy New Year to all of you and your families. I hope God blesses you a whole bunch this year, and looking forward to catching up with you guys in Toronto.
100%. Hey, everybody, this is the Union 0430 podcast. We are not experts. We'll never pretend to be experts. Just a bunch of friends that love talking anything waterfowl hunting. Big love. Surround yourself with good people, and see you next time.
Hey everybody, this is Kyle Smock with Show Me Ducks, a proud sponsor of Punisher Waterfowl's The Refuge this March at the Toronto Sportsman Show. Come check us out in The Refuge to see the Deep Diver 2.0, the Ice Quacker, and the Mini Quacker.